cup of coffee, then I'll go. Thought that I'd just drop by you, that I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'll cause you no more sorrow. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia. Welcome to Coffee Time Live every Sunday, with the exception of one Sunday coming up, either the next one or the one after, but I'll let you know. Okay, let's see. Is everything working? Looks like everything's working, hopefully. Rob, good morning. How you doing? Phil, howdy. Mike, how you doing, Mike? Juka, how you doing? Bella Sophia, smiling, hello from San Diego. Hello. When I'm reading, the emojis don't show up. It just gives me script like this. There we go. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Got it. JP and LP, good morning from the beautiful Pacific Northwest. It is. I'll give it that. Tommy, good morning. How you doing? Okay. Man, this throat. I think it's weather related. I just read that 17% of the population of Colombia has some kind of respiratory thing going on. None of it COVID. Funny how that went away. All the way live 360. How you doing? Okay, so rain last night. It's been kind of in check recently, but in a lot of ways, I'm loving this climate that we have this year because it's been considerably cooler. I mean, it's been really pleasant temperatures, so that's nice. But what's going on is, and I alluded to this before, but it's the La Nina, and that happens every few years. And we're going through one right now that it could be as long as 2 or 3 years. It's already been about 12 months, or maybe not quite 12 months, at least 10 months. As a matter of fact, that's how long I've been complaining about our weather pattern being off. You know, I'm beginning to question what is the normal. Coleman, hello from Pasadena. I thought you were back in Colombia. Okay. So, from La Nina, we have now a red alert, potential of problems for Armenia, Calarca, and Salento. Now, Salento has been having some problems with a few landslides on those back roads. Armenia, not so much. And Calarca, out in the countryside, there's been a few issues. I mean, we've been getting a ton of rain. Here in Armenia, I was kind of surprised to see the red alert because there really haven't been any issues, but they're saying that where this La Nina, they thought it was going to chill out and go away in September. Now they're saying it's going to go through at least December and it's going to stay relatively strong. I don't know if you know what it is, but essentially what you have with La Nina is you have the Pacific Ocean. The top layer is warmer, and as you go deeper, it's cold. And you have the winds that go basically from east to west, and it kind of takes the warm top layer towards Indonesia, Philippines, and so behind it, up comes this cold air from the bottom of the ocean. So all along the South American coast and into North America, you have colder water than you normally would have. And depending on what the local weather patterns are, it'll pick that up and bring it in. Now there's areas in Chile, Bolivia, Peru, that are actually having some drought issues because of this. We don't get that. The way it affects us is we just get rain, rain, and more rain. And that happens on this side of South America into Brazil. It can affect hurricane season. You get more hurricanes, stronger hurricanes. Now, before you jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, see, there's proof of climate change. Well, it's actually not. It's actually contrary if you look at the history of it, because La Nina, the most prevalent years were in the 17th and 19th century. So if you go back and look at the information, their La Ninas were longer and more harsh than what we've had. They've been more frequent. They will typically run from a few months to a year up to 3 years. We've been in it for a while, so they're saying maybe until the end of this year. So we'll see. But with it here, we're used to getting rain anyway, and so for the most part, people aren't really affected, other than it rains more often. And I kind of miss the days that we used to have where it didn't rain until the evening when it didn't matter. And now, we're getting some rain in the mornings. We had a day a few days ago that kind of rained throughout the day, on and off. And then we'll get a few days where it's kind of back to normal. So it's just the way it goes. Better than other issues that we could be having. So I can't really complain about it. But that's La Nina in a nutshell. That's how it works. And I guess I just have to be patient with it. Okay, so my week. Gonna whine a little bit here. I had a bit of a disastrous week. It began by, I fell into something, and the left side of my body, I won't say it was paralyzed, because I wasn't paralyzed, but it got really stiff and felt very strange. I got needles every so often, and it pinched something. In my neck, I could hardly turn this way. This way was fine, but this way, it was a lot of pain. Well, fortunately, Aleve, those, they're not aspirin, but they're pain pills, Aleve, they worked really well. But I had some things to do this week. I had to go meet up with some friends at the Pereira airport, and I woke up feeling pretty good. I didn't take an Aleve, and by the time I started driving there, it was just pain shooting through me, and I couldn't hardly turn my neck. Pick them up at the airport, and then we had to go through town. We went to PriceSmart, and going through that traffic was really a pain. And did I mention how much I hate driving in towns here? And one of the reasons I think having a car is kind of stupid unless you really have to have one. It really sucked, especially with the pain. And it was cool going to PriceSmart. It's always fun to go there. But he had to go to the visa office, and because his flight was late, the traffic was just insane. If you look on Google, everything was red. And I know how it gets. It was right around 5 o'clock, and it's in the center of town. There's no way. I mean, we'll spend, an hour and a half trying to get there, and then trying to get out. It didn't make sense. So I said, let's wait until Friday or Monday, and I'll drive you there then, and we'll go in the morning. Well, he couldn't get his appointment quite in the morning. It was 11:30, so we still hit some traffic. So I had to go back and drive through the traffic, and half the time I take at least one wrong turn, and then you kind of have to go around the block, and it's a pain. God bless the taxi drivers, and that's probably what I should do. I should find a place to park outside of town and then just take a taxi. That would probably make more sense. But it made for a very uncomfortable week. I felt like an invalid, through much of the week. What do we got here? Good morning from West Palm Beach. Howdy. Hope to see you after the 22nd this month. If you need anything from me, make sure that you send an email, and we set aside some time. If we're just gonna, just meet up and give me some warning so we can figure out what day is a good day. The election. I've had some people sending me some information, and it was very conflicting. It was polls. And I did a little bit of digging, although I didn't go crazy. But I did a little bit of digging and found that there's several polls running around Colombia that are bogus. And it's obviously it's for the socialist. It doesn't show him winning, but the key feature of the two had similar numbers, although not the same, but up to 20% of respondents didn't respond to these polls. And they're not traditional polls, they're not known polls, they're just something that's sprung up. It's like if I sat here and just created a poll and put it out there. So, just kind of ignore anything that you're reading. Some of the more established polls are still putting Petro around 45%, and they're putting Hernandez around 51%. I don't know. I think that's where it'll probably, shake out. Although I will say Petro, I don't know where he's getting all the money, but you can't turn around without seeing some kind of advertisement in the newspapers, on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere you turn, billboards, everywhere you turn, there's these Petro ads. It's just a ton of money that's, well, we know where it's coming from, but it's it could have an effect. I don't know. I know Hernandez isn't advertising anywhere near as much. He does have people that are putting things on their cars, and so driving around, you'll see a lot of that. But I don't know. We got, 10 days? No, 7 days? 7 days? When's the election? Yeah, 7 days, next Sunday. So I guess we'll see. On a side note, the teen tennis, the under 14 tennis tournament that I told you for South America that was put on here in Armenia, Colombian team won. They took the title, so they're going to the World Championships. So that's pretty cool. The bowling ended, and I couldn't find anything about what happened with the bowling. But that was a big, big tournament. It had to have been at least a dozen messages asking me about what are the gas prices in Colombia? Are you getting hammered like, we are in the U.S.? No, gas prices are pretty much the same. Driving this week, I was out Wednesday and Friday. Basically, the gas prices everywhere I saw, some a little up, some a little down, but on average, and when I say a little up and down, by pennies. $2.38 a gallon for gasoline. And for diesel, it was actually cheaper everywhere. It's $2.35 a gallon for diesel fuel. So that's pretty cool. And I had to rent a vehicle for Wednesday because they had, I don't know, they must have had 12 suitcases. So it had to have something big. So I rented a full-size SUV, and it was diesel, a 6-cylinder diesel. And which it was surprising because it had all the power of a gasoline engine. It was a gas hog. You could watch that gauge just dive. But that caused me to pay attention to diesel prices, and prices are pretty good. So I did hear that Biden has a plan for you guys in the United States. What I heard was, the meter on the gas pumps, the tick, tick, tick with the number. But I guess he's just waiting until it clicks until it goes back to zero. And then you won't have to, won't have to worry about it. So hang in there. Zero's coming. I've been asked a few times about what shortages are here. The only shortages I'm seeing are from the US, and the shortages are primarily food items. For example, I used to get once a month one of these little vacuum pack of Angus beef from the USA. They're not available anymore. When I was at PriceSmart, I was looking, they weren't available. You can get stuff from Argentina, Uruguay. So you can get you still get good beef and Colombian beef, depending if you know what you're getting. But the U.S. beef is just gone, and this was a big market for it. What else? And there are just a lot of imported items are just kind of fading away. Although you can still get canned things like ragu spaghetti sauce or Hunt's sauce or Barilla pasta, or things that they make up in huge quantities, and they're probably stacked in warehouses. But who knows if come this fall those start to run out. Fortunately, I live in a country that's self-sufficient and pretty much produces everything that we need, so it's not an issue as far as things go. There has been inflation, but it hasn't been that bad. I've explained before. I'm not going to go through it. It's primarily on cheaper items, and the percent of a cheaper item, it just doesn't have that huge of effect. One of the reasons that I was reading in the U.S., one of the reasons they got a food shortage, this is really bizarre. I'm going to have to dig into it. I'm curious. But there were, I believe the number was 9 food facilities that burned to the ground all within a week. I don't know what that's about. And then the day after I saw that, I posted something up on Facebook, and I saw a meme or a picture or something that said that these food facilities had burned down, and why isn't anybody asking, and something like that. And it had the warning, like fact checker thing. So I clicked on it, and it didn't say anything about it wasn't true. They didn't dispute that it was true. They said basically it's a coincidence. There's nothing to see here, and it's not some plot. The article didn't say that. It just pointed out. So it was a fact check that didn't need to be checked. But I thought it was kind of funny that they came out with, that. Like, nobody said that. At least not in what I saw. So I don't know. John, good morning. How you doing? All right, do I have anything else? Oh, yeah. I've told you guys that cheese is like the big thing here. It's huge. And also, I have to laugh when people say, the portions in the United States are just bigger than anywhere in the world. All right, I got two little clips here that I want to show you. I think they'll make you smile. So think cheese and think portion size. Here goes number one.
Veis, amigo, para un momentico y si a eso le falta el arroz, porque si no eso no queda. Luego con ese.
That's putting cheese on top of cheese. And here in Armenia, that was in Cali, but here in Armenia, there's several places that have this very same thing. Now here's another one. I think this one's in Cartagena, but check this one out.
Comida callejera de la plaza de Getsemaní a prepararse para una noche de locos. Este en particular vende un plato que se llama patacón con todo. Comida rápida Gabriel, para ser más exactos. Lo que hacen en la plancha es un completo show. Y cuando hablan de patacón con todo, es literal. Revuelven absolutamente todo. Chorizo, butifarra, pollo mechado, carne mechada. Y luego de colocarle mucho aceite, salsas y combinarlo hasta con lechuga, comienzan a servir en una cama de patacón. Pero lo mejor es cuando colocan el queso. Ya las personas han hecho su pedido y están esperando que les sirvan su plato. En la misma plancha te hacen todo y van coronando uno a uno hasta entregarte. También venden perros calientes y hamburguesas. Yo me pedí un patacón con todo. El precio varía según para cuántas personas sea. El que yo pedí, 20,000 barritas. Y me eché la bendición para comenzar a comer. Miren nada más cómo estira ese queso, Dios mío. Desde el año 2018 no probaba un plato de estos. ¿Y qué les puedo decir? Prefiero cuando hacen todo por aparte. Pero tiene fama y es un completo show. 6 de la...
Cheese on top of cheese. Okay, am I still on? Now I'm hungry. Apparently I am. All right, so we have time to do this.
It's asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question.
Seemed to freeze up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I need to do a new one. I've been using that one for about 3 years. Do you have any questions? No, I'm hungry. Yeah, those things are deadly. I see them here, and it's like, there's no way I'm going to order that. They remind me of the garbage plates that I'm so in love with from upstate New York. But it'll be with like these rustic potatoes and sausage and shrimp and chunks of pork and beef and chicken. But the big theme is it's always the cheese. You see the cheese and the sauce, and the portions are for 2 people. I think those portions are for 4 people, to be honest with you, but they're sold for, it's per person. They're not sold for 2 people. And I don't know if you noticed the price on that second one, but I had it right on there. It's 20,000 pesos, about $5. And it's not just, potatoes and patacon. There's a lot of, shrimp and, meat products in there, and just not much for veggies. There's so many things here that like if you go and order a roast chicken, say you want a thigh and a leg of roast chicken, and you'll get the salt potatoes and maybe a soup, no veggies. The veggies you have to go out of your way to get them. What do we got here? Hi, Lauren. I want to know if showing money in my bank account means that the tax authority will look to impose taxes on me. What bank account? Where is your bank? Robert, how do you think the Colombian peso will be affected with the election? It's hard to say right now. Right now, I don't think there'll be any effect because I think Hernandez will win, and that'll be more. Things will go as they've been going somewhat. But he's got his pet things like corruption. I don't see either. Even if the socialist wins, I think anything he doesn't have the majority of the House, so it's not like he can just decree things. He can want things, but if he's president, but he's not in control of the people who actually pass laws, he's not going to be able to run roughshod anyway. So you've got that, and I just don't see anything changing drastically. I don't see the peso, going way up or way down. And even now, it's kind of fluctuating in the same range. I'm moving next month and want to open a bank account in Colombia. Why? Why would you want to open a bank account? I mean, you can do what you want to do. I've explained many times, my advice is to not open one unless you have a particular reason, such as you're not retiring, but you're going to be running a business here, something along those lines, then yeah. But if you're particularly if you're in retirement, so I can transfer money from Ecuador. You might want to send me an email because there's questions I have. What country are you from? And do you have a bank account in the country you're from? Set aside Ecuador for a moment. Have you been to Cordoba? Yes. If so, how did you like it? It's your typical town. It's interesting. It's worth looking at, but I didn't feel like there was anything special. I don't know. I've been to so many places in Colombia. I'm a bit jaded where for something to pique my interest, there has to be something about it that is unique and different. There's nothing wrong with something being a typical town. It's just, it's like, well, I've been to dozens like that one. Pijao is interesting. There's certain aspects about it that are interesting. Buena Vista is very interesting because it sits way up and you're looking out on the world. And the view alone is worth the trip up there. From Colombia, my accounts are in USA and Ecuador. Okay. My advice is to run everything through your bank account in the USA, and here just use your debit card, go to the ATM, pull your money out with a debit card, and don't open an account here. You don't need an account. So why go through that if you have no need for it? If you've got an account in Ecuador, then you can, transfer it to your US account. Or you can also use your debit card in Ecuador, here as well. Bit off the topic, does one apply for Social Security benefits online? As I'm based in Colombia. Do you know how long the process takes? Thank you in advance. You can apply for it online. I don't know how that process is going to go. I can only told you I've been told it takes a couple months and that it might take another month or two for the payments to come through. I can really only speak to things that I know firsthand, and I just don't know. Plus, it's been a while, and so even if I had done that 7 years ago or 6 years ago or whatever it was, could very well be different now. I understand that they've changed up some things with their website, so I don't know. Just send them an email and ask them, and I'm sure they can hook you up. How do you feel about people renouncing their U.S. citizenship? Personally, I think it's stupid. Unless you have a specific reason to do it. I will retain my U.S. citizenship, and currently I don't really have any desire to get Colombian citizenship just because I don't want to go through the process, because I don't need to. Next year, I get my permanent visa, so I don't have to go through the visa process anymore. And for me, that's good enough. But I can understand where some people would want to get a Colombian citizenship, and the nice thing is you can have dual citizenship. But the thing is, you know, what's happening right now in the U.S., probably 65% of you are hating it, and I feel your pain. I've been watching this. In a lot of ways, I predicted this some years ago. But things change. And, you know, it's the old pendulum swing kind of thing. And it's been so bizarre and so drastic this past year. You know, it's going to go back the other way. So, you know, I wouldn't be, you know, I'd be a little more positive about it. Doesn't cost you to have it, so just hang on. How can bite and affect the oil prices outside of digging into the National Reserve? I am not following what you're saying. But the National Reserve is there for emergencies, and it's there for a specific purpose. And going into the National Reserves to try to affect gasoline prices at the pump is really kind of stupid. When Biden took office, they were full. A lot of years they're not, but they were full to the brim. And what happens if there is a national emergency and those reserves are gone? It makes no sense. There's a national reserve for emergency, and specifically for emergencies. Self-inflicted gasoline price increases isn't really an emergency. Most people are announcing because of the income tax, etc. Well, most people don't understand the tax system and haven't actually read it. And it's something I don't get involved in talking about because it's a complicated thing and there's a lot of nuances to it. I don't have to pay tax. I don't really know anybody that has to pay tax. I think what catches people, and this I can speak to, is there is a chart in the Colombian regulations that people look at that chart and think that's it, that's the end of the road. And the chart, and I'll try to remember this in dollars, it's going to be an approximate. If you earn somewhere around $1,400 a month, might be 13, I don't remember exactly. But if you, let's say $1,400 a month, then you're obligated to pay 10% of that to Colombia. And then it goes to, well, if you earn $1,700 a month, then you have to pay 20%. And if you earn $2,000 a month, you have to pay 30%, something along those lines. That is a chart, and that chart is real. However, it's a starting point, and then you go to the tax laws and you start removing things where you wouldn't have to pay a tax. And nobody looks at that because first they got to deal with the translation, and it's confusing, it's complicated, there's a lot of pages to it. And I'm not going to profess, I don't want to get anybody in trouble by misspeaking or something like that. But the percent of people that pay an actual income tax in Colombia is less than 10%. Now, there's a lot of middle class and wealthy Colombians, and most of them don't. The tax system here is really based on the value added tax, the EVA or VAT, some countries will call it. That's the tax system. And there's not much beyond that. And the income tax is designed for people that are actually very wealthy. So they put this chart in there as a starting point, but then there's a lot of things to go through beyond that. And another thing you have to be aware of, this is a phenomenon here that you will see. If you talk to 5 accountants, 4 of them are going to tell you how you have to pay taxes. They will try to overcomplicate it. They're going to make it sound like you can't do it without them. They're just drumming up business for themselves. And then you'll find one of the 5 that was actually honest enough to tell you, you don't have to worry about it because of this, 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 and this, and you don't have to pay taxes. Now, you can put yourself in jeopardy if you voluntarily start going through the process. And where you wouldn't have even had to pay a tax, they'll certainly take your money if you offer it up. And that's one of the first steps of that is having a bank account. It doesn't mean if you get a bank account, you have to pay taxes. But it does mean you now have to file with the tax system. And, it's like, it's not necessary to do that. Also, let's say, this is a pretty interesting thing about Colombia. Let's say that for whatever reason, I owed $100 last year in tax and I didn't pay it. There's no penalty. There's no penalty to it. And that's something that people complain about here is you got somebody who's got, $1 billion and he didn't pay taxes for 2 years in a row and they caught him. No, he has to pay the tax, but there's no penalty on that. There's nothing to punish him for doing that. So, but that's interesting to know because, you can basically just kind of ignore it. And if anything comes along, then it's like, then you have to settle up. Now, I'm not telling anybody to avoid taxes. My feeling is if I legitimately owe tax in the system, then I would want to pay it. I appreciate living here and I don't want to do anything wrong. I certainly don't want to do anything to jeopardize my visa. On the other hand, I'm not going to be stupid and give money where it doesn't have to go. I'm not rich. I'm not a wealthy guy and so I'm not going to volunteer to lose money. But I strongly suggest before you do permanent things like registering yourself in a bank and things like that, that you sort out your particular situation. Are you retired, not retired? Are you here with investments? Are you here on a student visa? What is your situation? And where do the tax, where does it fall? What is your income? Is it retire income? Is it job income? Are you making anything off of Colombians? That certainly, changes the whole picture. So, there's a lot to consider about whether you'd have to pay tax or not. But, I know a lot of retired people and none of them have to pay tax. So, any taxes you pay in the USA or Canada is credited to Colombian taxes owed, generally nullifying any taxes unless you're in a high income bracket. I wouldn't say that, but I appreciate that you said it. George, thank you. Appreciate it. Canada has a tax treaty with Colombia, so when you pay tax in Canada, listed as a resident of Colombia, the Canadian government automatically reports you to Colombia. Yeah, there is that with Canada. I am aware of that. The only time that happens with the USA is if you register at the bank and then you have to do the USA documents that go back to the USA. What does it take to get a resident permit and not have to keep applying for visa? Time. You have to be here for 5 years. Stay in country within the certain parameters. I don't remember off the top of my head. I mean, you can go away for a month or something, but you have to be here, there's a specified amount of time that you can be out of the country. You have to be here for the time that you're supposed to be here. You get your first visa. Mine was 3 years. A lot of people's first visa is 1 year. It depends on what you got. Some people get 2. So I've got my 3 year. I've already signed up for my second 3 year. I won't use the full 3 years because next year when I come up with 2 years into that one, I'll be applying for the permanent residency, and that'll be the end of it. It's relatively simple. You're kind of doing the same thing as you did for your original visa. You're just asking permission to be a permanent resident. So you're just filling that paperwork out. You're paying the fees, and you're done. So my point is, a Canadian opening a bank account here won't red flag you. They'll know about you anyway. Yeah, I don't really, as you've noticed, and you know, I really don't talk about Canada because what do I know about it? You know, the fact that I was secretly born there and lived in the Thousand Islands early in my life. I still don't really know much about Canada. I mean, I know about the loonies. I'll drink Labatt's once in a while. I really enjoy live hockey. And I can say, okay, but that's about the extent of my Canadian knowledge. Does my husband need a lawyer to apply for residency, or is it simple enough to do it ourselves? I would say neither. A lawyer will, it's really hit and miss, and lawyers actually don't do these processes very often. Visa agents do, and they're the ones that really kind of know what's going on. That's why I always refer and use a visa agent. I have one in Pereira that I've been using for years. I've referred dozens of people, and I've never had anything but positive feedback. So, you know, as long as that's the case, I'll keep doing that. I see people get lawyers and end up with lots of problems. So do it yourself. The cost with a visa agent, except in the Medellin area, can be expensive. But here, for example, the cost, I believe it's 400,000 pesos for the visa agent to process it. So that's just over $100, and it's done. And with that money, they actually, if you do it yourself, you have to actually take a trip to Bogota. You have to go to the U.S. Embassy. You then have to go to the Colombian consulate. You're going to have to get a hotel. There's, you know, a fair amount of running around to do. With the visa agent I use, I don't have to do any of that. All I do is drop off the paperwork, sign the power of attorney, pay my money, and wait 10, 15 days until they call, and it's done, and to pick it up, and I'm all set. So it's, if you consider the expense of the trip and the hotel and the running around and not being sure of where you are and what if you forgot something, it's not worth it. In my opinion, can you do it? Yes, of course. Of course you can do it. It's not all that complicated. I just don't want to spend a few days running around and having those expenses, taxis and buses and all of that, when I don't have to. I don't talk about Canada either. I ran about it, the reasons. Yeah, there you go. I said USA should have next Canada decades ago. Canadians generally think they're superior to Americans. Total ignorance, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Who was it? South Park did some funny things with Canadian versus US. I don't remember now, but I see that you have a Skype call option outside of the contribution. How does that work? I don't see a way to share my contact info. You send me an email here and tell me basically, you know, what you're looking for, and we'll set up a time that works for you. And it says on there an hour, but I don't know if I've ever made a call that was shorter than an hour and a half. Basically, I get on the call and I stay until you run out of questions. So there's my email. What we got? Been to Canada once for a fishing trip to Saskatchewan. Oh, Canada can be beautiful, but the thing about Canada is very similar to the thing about New York. Some of the most beautiful country in the world is upstate New York. It's just amazing. 6 months of the year. And the other 6 months, it's hell on earth. And Canada's the same way. You don't know cold until you've been to certain areas of this planet. When you can literally see your breath, and I know people overuse the word literally, but I actually mean literally here, not figuratively. You can literally see your breath go out, freeze, and drop in crystals to the ground. If you have this, it will be all ice from breathing. It's hellacious. I could never live in Canada because of that. And the reason I don't live in upstate New York is where I lived, we actually get more snow than most of Canada. So, yeah, it's not good. Although not quite as cold. We only get down in upstate New York a few times a year to about -20. Where in Canada, it's more often. Well, depending on where you are in Canada, of course. Okay. I'm going to mention again here the travel insurance. Hey, Mondo. When I was in the visa office, she was asking the people that I picked up for 3 months insurance. Now, it was 2 months, but she says now it's 3 months. So if you come here and let's say you're going to get a retirement visa, you want to have your travel insurance good for 3 months, and you don't need more than that. And these people are good price. As a matter of fact, the people that I took into the visa office, they actually had bought a year of the travel insurance, even though they didn't need it. They said that the difference between the 3 months and a year was almost negligible, so they just went ahead and bought a year's worth. It's if you're under 70 years old, it's some of the best price out there. It's a good company, so I will promote them as long as that's the case. Let me get that off there. All right. What else we got? All right. Any other questions? If there's anybody in Armenia that is interested in, I don't know that this is for sure. And Mike, if you're on, this is for you also. But if you're in Armenia, I believe Tuesday, I'm going to drive out to that little village, Pueblo Tapao. All my video footage, outside of the little clips that I used for something, but I took a ton of it. It's shot. It's happens once in a while. So I'm going to go back out and do some video work out there, and I'll be driving out there in the car. So if anybody's interested to visit this little village, it's takes me about 20 minutes to drive through Armenia, and then once I get to the edge of Armenia, it's about I think it's 11 minutes to the village. So less than an hour in total. If you're interested, let me know. Shoot me off a message, and if I'm doing it and I have room in the car, you're welcome to ride along. If you want to contribute to the gas, that's fine, but I'm going to be using the gas anyway, so it doesn't really matter. All right. Any other questions? I went too far into text that I really wish I hadn't gone as far as I did. I know I didn't say anything in particular, but man, that's a touchy subject, because what's good for one person is wrong for another. I'm interested. I've been there 6 or 7 times. My favorite place. I love it, and I'm coming up in a couple months. My lease is expiring here, and I'm seriously thinking about moving out there at least for a year. And as a matter of fact, when I go out Tuesday, I may look at a few places just to see what's available. It's an awesome little village. Here you have this little village. It's maybe as much as 1,000 or 2,000 people. I don't think there's even 2,000 people. And because it's near the coffee park, which is the big touristy area, I mean, it's not next to it, but it's, 4 or 5 miles down the road. Quite a few people go through this area. And because of that, they have a number of really good, high-quality restaurants, like fancy schmancy restaurants, priced like it's out in the country. Priced so that you could go every day and eat in a nice restaurant and you know, save yourself cooking. Although I like to cook, so, you know, 2-3 times a week, or maybe even 4 times a week, I'm going to cook anyway, but there's that. You've got a number of really good bakeries. People are awesome there, like most places, but they're very much like the people here in Armenia. But it's a small town. I really like that. I don't know. I go out there and I feel really comfortable. Now, some people say, "Well, isn't it hot there?" It is warmer there, and one of the dangers is because we've been in La Nina for quite a while, and temperatures are cooler. I don't know. It's not as hot as like the golf course, for example. The road that goes through it will drive directly to the golf course, but it's quite a ways away. And as I've told you here, everything's about microclimates. That is a particular hot spot. It's hell there. But you go a couple miles away from there and you've got something different going on. There's so much greenery. I think what I will find there is it will be a few degrees warmer than if I were in Armenia. I think what I'll find is it'll be similar to the temperatures in some of the south parts of Armenia. But I don't know. You know, I don't have to go for more than a year, so I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking the same thing. Yeah, we could talk about that when we go out. Maybe if you're going out with me, we can both check to see what's available out there. Maybe you've already done that. I don't know. I can live anywhere as long as there's beer. Oh, they can have all the beer you could possibly drink. Or do they have well, I'm not disconnected, so I don't know what you were saying, Rob. They have also in this, if you're into this, I'm not, but they've got a disco, they've got several nightclubs. Some of them are really, you wouldn't know that they were in a little village. You would think you're in Medellin or something. They may not be gigantic, but they're good size, really nice, hold maybe 100 people or so. It's pretty awesome. You've got one supermarket. You got little tiendas, but you have one actual supermarket. But again, Armenia is not that far away. Like I say, from the edge of Armenia to the town, it's 11 minutes. And you can hit one of the supermarkets in the south part of Armenia in about 20 minutes. So it's not that big a deal. The buses there run to Armenia through that village about every 10 or 15 minutes up until 8 o'clock. And then they're spaced out. They still run later than that, but it's like, from what I understand, it's like every hour. And I think they stopped running around 11 or 12 o'clock. There's taxis, though, and it's not so far as the taxi. It probably costs you between 20 and 30,000 to take a taxi from Armenia. Do you know how many ATMs in Pihao? Good variety. I don't know. I don't know how many. They have ATMs, and they had one for Davi Vienda. I honestly, there's several banks there, 2 or 3 pharmacies. But when I go out through the video, these are some of the things I'll actually be looking at, and so maybe I'll better answer for you. Thinking about the ease of cash withdrawals, you can definitely do it, and that won't be an issue. Plus, if you use anything like World Remit, they've got banks there that you can pick up, right at the bank counter. And the nice thing is, because it's so small, there's hardly lines anywhere. And I definitely will appreciate that. Robert, great show today. Thank you. Always look forward to it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I wonder sometimes, I'm not a fan of listening to myself, but I do spend some time trying to do my homework to bring you things that you might be interested in, things that you hadn't really thought about. So I appreciate that. All right, I guess we're going to end it here. A couple of you, I'll be looking for some emails from you. Once more, here's my email address, my name @gmail. And I'll post up in the community section on YouTube and on the Facebook page, Adventures in Grand Colombia. I was thinking it is a little village. It is a little village, but that's what's awesome about it. It's a little village that has all of these things going on. It's this tiny little village, but because it's so near the coffee park, you have these advantages of having all of these services that you won't any other little village like that. And I'd say it's about a quarter the size of Salento. You don't have those things in Salento. I mean, you'll have some of them, but that's a big touristy area. This is not. It's just it's got as much as a small town. It's very cool. Okay, so where was I? Shutting off my email. And oh yeah, I'll let you know if my Sunday off is going to be the next week, the election, or after. I probably, even if I don't do coffee time next week, I'll probably do what I did last time. The day after, I'll do a kind of a surprise live just to talk about what happened with the election. I did that last time, the Monday after the election, day after the election. So if you're interested, watch for that. If you weren't notified that I did that last time, you probably want to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get notified. And then after that, you can, turn it off or whatever. But that's it. We'll see you next time.
Oh,